Welcome to Dear Diaspora, a podcast celebrating the African diaspora and the change makers, innovators, and entrepreneurs working to make our world a better one to live in. I'm your host, Ndulwa Kowa. Let's get started. Thank you for tuning in to episode 16 of Dear Diaspora. So we are switching things up today and doing a solo episode. So no formal interview today. I have so many things to share, a couple of announcements, and have been doing a lot of thinking back on the year and what I want for the podcast in 2020. So I figured, why not just put all those thoughts into one solo episode. So before I get into everything, again, I want to thank all of you for listening to the show and tuning in every week. If you didn't listen to the last episode or haven't heard it on social media, Dear Diaspora recently crossed the 1,000 download mark, meaning the episodes have been downloaded 1,000 times, which is amazing. Dear Diaspora is a new show, and seeing numbers like that is definitely validating and shows that this is something that people want to listen to, and it's something that interests all of you, and is something that all of you care about. So thank you again for tuning in and sharing with friends and family. It really has made such a huge difference, and I look forward to continuing to have these interviews and spotlight the change makers and the innovators and entrepreneurs across the diaspora, just doing amazing things and making a real impact. So a quick life update for those of you that are interested. So I know I've mentioned, moving to a new city in a couple of episodes, and, job hunting and all that stuff. So yeah, I thought I'd just kind of share a little bit about that. So these past couple months for me have been super busy. Busy is actually an understatement. Within the last month, I started a new job working for an entrepreneurship support organization here in Kansas City. If you want to learn more, you can just add me on LinkedIn. Anyway, so yeah, started a new job, wrapped up my part-time job, somehow found the time to volunteer. I worked on this podcast, and I found a new apartment and moved into it. All within, I'd say, the last month. So I've had, just quite the experience these past few weeks. And so as usual, I'm always doing the most, and definitely look forward to slowing down a little bit and focusing more on this podcast. So with that said, I would love to hear from all of you. So I'm working through what I want for Dear Diaspora in 2020 and would love all of your input and your feedback. So what I did was I put together a survey that I will link to in the show notes. So the survey's 18 questions, and I actually took it and shared it with a couple of friends, and it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to fill out, unless you have paragraphs of feedback, which I welcome. But yeah, it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to fill out, and it's going to be super helpful as I, work to formulate Dear Diaspora's 2020 strategy. So there are questions in there about, your age and, what kind of merch you would buy from the show, which is something I'm working on, and I'll get into that in a little bit. And there's just extra space in there for any sort of additional feedback that you would have. So one of my podcast goals for 2020 is to monetize a podcast. So the main reason I want to monetize a podcast, first, I want to be able to outsource my editing and production. This is something that I obviously love, something I'm passionate about, really celebrating the African diaspora. But I do have a full-time job now, and I spend a lot of my free time working on this podcast and, scheduling interviews and strategizing and brainstorming. And if I can monetize this and pay someone to do all the editing and all the GarageBand stuff, like, why not? So that is something that is going to happen next year. I am putting it out there. And so, yeah, I'm just brainstorming different ways I can go about, monetizing it, thinking about like having t-shirts and things like that. So I thought, let me put the survey out and kind of see what you all think and, how you'd be willing to support the show. So the link is going to be in the description. Take, about 5 minutes to fill it out. I would really, really appreciate it. So I learned so many things this past year, and one of the biggest things was the importance of networking and putting yourself out there. Like, it's no joke, and I'm speaking specifically to like the job searching process. It was exhausting, like, to be quite honest, especially in a new city where you don't know too many people, and you're trying to apply to all these jobs, and trying to network and trying to meet folks and all that. So one of the biggest things that really was kind of solidified in like during my job search was the importance of networking. And so I just have a couple tips for y'all if you are looking to, make a switch in 2020, or, get that promotion, or, maybe move to a new city. This is going to be for you. So one stat that I came across is that when you're like job searching, 70% of jobs aren't advertised. So meaning these jobs aren't listed on boards. And so you're only seeing a portion of the jobs that are actually out there. And so if you don't know someone that works at a particular organization, or if you don't know someone in a particular industry, it's going to be super hard for you to know, what's really out there for you. And there are lots and lots of opportunities out there that, a lot of people are missing out on because they, aren't in those networks and aren't in those circles. And so one tip that I do have for you is to definitely expand your circle, connect with people, and really, really expand your circle and spread the word about what exactly that you want to do. So you have to be really clear, because if you are networking, you want to do it with intention. You want to not just be out there meeting a whole bunch of people. You want to know that, hey, this person works in this field and I need to talk to them, because they're probably going to be in the know of, different opportunities at these sorts of organizations that I want to work for. And so be very clear on what you want, because again, when you're out there meeting people and making connections, you don't want to be wasting people's time. You don't want to be wasting your time either. And so be very clear on what it is that you want. Put it out there. Start with the people that you already know. Ask who they know. Go out of your way to kind of research organizations and, people on staff and all that, because really, once it comes down to picking who's going to come in for interviews, a lot of times people are leaning more on referrals. They're going to call a referral before they're going to call some random person that applied online. And so be very intentional about any sort of job search that you do, because it really, really, it can be a waste of time, honestly, if you are just applying online, but you really don't know anyone that's working at these organizations that you work for, and you don't know people, who would be in their network or in their circles. And so that's something that I learned, and it's what led me to this opportunity that I'm working for right now. I put myself out there. I was very clear on what exactly I wanted to do here in Kansas City. And I figured out, who I think would have the right connections in Omaha, the city I was in before. And so I talked to that person. They connected me with other people, that they knew here in Kansas City. And, that's how things got started. And I eventually got, my right job. But if I was just blindly just applying to all these jobs and really not knowing who exactly was going to be looking at my applications, I didn't know who my, future coworkers would be. I didn't know anyone who would be connected to them. If I was doing that, it would have taken me much longer to really find the exact type of opportunity that I wanted. And I have to add, networking is exhausting. Like, I am an introvert, and constantly having to meet all these new people, sometimes can just get a bit overwhelming. So if you are like that, or if you are intimidated by, the idea of, reaching out to strangers, don't take it too seriously, because, the worst someone can say is no. And then if they do say no, you just move on to the next person. And you don't have to overwhelm yourself by trying to meet with like 20 people, let's say. Like, if there are 2 or 3 people that you feel would be good connections to have, then reach out to those 2 or 3 people. If just one of them gets back to you, you never know who they could introduce you to. You never know what they might be aware of as far as, job opportunities. So it really never hurts. And the worst they could say is no. So another thing that I learned this year is the power of communication and setting expectations. So a lot of the problems that we have can be solved if we just get a little bit uncomfortable, speak our mind, stop assuming that people understand our intentions and that people are, just automatically on the same page as you. So this is something that I'm working on for sure. And not just in my personal relationships and friendships, but also in my professional ones. So I've learned that you have to communicate, just period. So I am definitely just reflecting on that and, ruminating on that a little bit, and just taking that lesson into 2020, because it's so important, and it's such like a fundamental thing that something that will help you in all sorts of facets of your life. So yeah, communication, could probably do an entire episode on that and how badly a lot of us communicate. And so yeah, I'd love to dedicate an episode to that pretty soon. More to come on that. But yes, definitely set your expectations. Put whatever it is that you want out there, because, a lot of times things, get left unsaid, and it ruins everything. And so I wanted to talk about the power of really speaking things to existence, and just essentially manifesting them and just putting them out there. Because if you really want something, if you want something to change in your life, you need to be able to say it out loud. You need to be able to say it confidently. You need to be able to be firm and have some sort of conviction behind it, because our words are powerful. And whatever you ask for, the universe, or God will bring it to you. And so you have to be really specific, and you have to be ready for it. And if you want more from your partner or from your job or, from your friendships, you're going to have to say it. You're going to have to communicate it, and you're going to have to start doing the work. And so that's something that I'm just thinking through a little bit, and something that I thought I would share. And the main thing really, I feel like, is being really clear about what you want out of life, and not settling. And just putting whatever it is that you want to see in the world, just putting it out there. And so with that said, I wanted to put a couple things out there podcast wise. So I want to launch a merch store in 2020. I will be doing at least one live show for Dear Diaspora next year. I will travel somewhere I've never been. That travel will probably not have anything to do with the podcast, but you never know. And I will monetize this show so that we can spotlight even more dope and more dynamic entrepreneurs across the African diaspora. So, another quick announcement: Dear Diaspora has a Facebook group. It's called the Dear Diaspora Community, and I would love for you to join it. So, look it up on Facebook. Just type in Dear Diaspora Community. I will link to it in the description. And with this group, I really hope that it's going to be a place where we can just kind of convene, discuss certain topics that are touched on during the episodes. If there's something out there that you are feeling particularly inspired by, you are more than welcome to share it on there. You're more than welcome to ask questions. You're more than welcome to use it as a way to just meet like-minded individuals across the African diaspora. So if you haven't joined it already, don't forget to join the Dear Diaspora community on Facebook. So I am going to end on what I am listening to and reading currently. So what I'm listening to, I've had the song on repeat, y'all, for like this past week, like for sure. Like it's just like I heard it on this playlist on Spotify, and I just haven't been able to stop playing it. It's Mayor Koom. He has a song called Up to Something, and it's super catchy, and I honestly didn't pay attention to the lyrics. But then I looked it up on YouTube just to be like, just to see what sort of video he had for it. And it's actually, the song is like essentially celebrating women and saying you don't have to be a figure eight. You don't have to, look a certain way. Like, you are beautiful just the way you are. And like, I heard that lyric in the song, but for some reason I didn't really like put it all together until I saw the video, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so dope. So if you're looking for like a new song to check out, that's one that has just been on repeat for me for sure. And what I'm reading, I just started The Memo. It's by Minda Harts, and the full title of the book is The Memo: What Women of Color Need to Know to Secure a Seat at the Table. So I am super excited to get into this book. I think I've read just like the intro, and I'm already super excited about what she has to share. Essentially, the book is a response to Lean In. And so for those of y'all that haven't heard of Lean In, apparently Lean In is like this how to thrive in the workplace, like manifesto type of thing for women, but it's received a lot of critique for not being thoughtful about the experiences of women of color in the workplace. And so I haven't personally read the book, but I've heard a lot of people really criticize the author Sheryl Sandberg, about just really missing the mark as far as like really being able to include women of color's perspectives. And so this book was written because Minda Harts had a platform for women of color, like a professional development platform. And then she wrote this book to really be like a super pragmatic, straightforward, like, here's how you secure, the seat at the table in predominantly, white environments. And so I'm super excited to learn from this book. I'm already super intrigued by just her approach and her writing style. It's very accessible and very real, which I appreciate. And yeah, I will link to it in the description so that you can check it out if you would like to learn more about how you can secure a seat at the table. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 16 of Dear Diaspora. Don't forget to take the survey that is linked in the description. I would really, really appreciate your feedback. And I really look forward to all of you listening to the next few episodes that we have planned for the rest of the year. And again, as always, thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you next week.